So Nate Boyer, the actor, the video game star, the Texas Longhorn, the Green Beret, the Seattle Seahawks, the dude who challenged himself when he felt angered by the Colin Kaepernick protest back in 2016, to look past his frustration, understand what Cap was trying to highlight, and then took the time to suggest taking a knee. The same knee now that's taken around the world in support of the Black Lives Matters movement and support of equality amongst race. Now, Nate, as impressive as that all reads, could you imagine that the time you took to understand what Colin was talking about would result in little old me and thousands around the world taking a knee?
No, not at all. I mean, especially, when I look back 3.5, almost 4 years ago, when we had that conversation, Colin and I sat down for about an hour and a half, early on when he was sitting on the bench protesting. And he's just sort of point blank asked me, do you think there's another way I could demonstrate it's not going to offend people in the military? He was concerned with my feelings, the way I felt about it, which, I really appreciated. Not that I speak for the military or speak for anybody but myself, but, it showed just in that one-on-one conversation that he cared enough to ask that. And I suggested doing something alongside his teammates versus, kind of sitting back isolated on the bench, and kneeling was sort of the only thing that honestly made sense. That was something that was something that was would be hard to what I thought would be hard to construe as disrespectful, but people still did. But also showing reverence and appreciation for the men and women that sacrificed everything for what that flag and anthem are supposed to represent as those symbols, but also showing that he felt it did not represent that, for him. And that's where that knee came from. So, I mean, that was a pretty quick conversation before that ball game, never thinking that he would, first of all, that he would do it, but second of all, that it would take off like it has and now has become a really interesting symbol. And it's not like I made up taking a knee. I mean, come on, that's age old right there. I mean, people have been doing it forever, whether they're praying or proposing to a loved one, or, when a player on the field's hurt in football, at least American football, all the players take a knee out of respect for him until they get him up and cart him off the field. And also people in the military, like, we'll take a knee in front of a fallen brother's grave to pay respects. So it's a sign of reverence. Dr. Martin Luther King and so many others had taken a knee in protest during the civil rights movement, but it was sort of something that hadn't been done so much recently. And I just think it's really interesting, and I think it's been really cool to see people from all walks of life, including people in law enforcement that want to see reform and things change and get better, do it alongside some of these peaceful protesters.
Nate, it highlights to me just the importance of an athlete's role in society. How important do you think it is for these athletes to be making a stand and making sure that they have a voice? Oh,
very important. I mean, no matter who you are and what your message is, if you have that platform as an athlete, and that's a big controversy today, talking about this whole idea of, they should just stick to sports. I mean, if everybody in the world just stuck to their profession and had no freedom of expression and what they believed, didn't speak out on those things, especially if they were trying to do good for our country and bring people together and make it a better place, then what good would the platform be? And so I think that it's I'm not saying every player, every professional athlete has a responsibility to be a social justice warrior or whatever it is. Absolutely not. But you have that freedom, you have that right, you have that opportunity, and if you're using it for something positive, like he is. I mean, it's all about making our country better. That's what true patriotism is. Then you absolutely should. And I just think it's a silly argument when people think. I think it's just the only people that ever say it, no matter who they are ones that it goes against their personal agenda one way or the other, and that's just that is what it is. But we've always applauded men and women, whether it was in civil rights or not, that have used that platform to do good in the world.
So you obviously, you and I have been toing and throwing through Twitter and through Messenger and stuff. Life has just got very crazy for you over the last couple of months.
Yeah, I mean, especially over the last couple of weeks, even more. But yeah, it's crazy for everybody right now. We're in really interesting times, and ironically, when you look at, and I know you said you had a tough personal, professional situation through COVID. Like a lot
Lost
of
my
people
job.
have
Yeah.
had things happen, right?
Yeah.
And it's tough. But like if it didn't happen, I also don't know if these protests and demonstrations would take on the life that they have. You know what I mean? So it's almost a silver lining in that, or something. I mean, it's hard to say, but 2020 has been a very, very interesting year. There's no, I don't think there's any arguing that.
Yeah. I think, I mean, you're a humble man. I can tell that. But for you, it must be pretty amazing, the idea that, during a lockdown that we've had alert levels in New Zealand. So you're not allowed out in mass groups and so on. But a lot of people broke that to show their support to the Black Lives Matters movement. And there's I guess, ethnicity problems that we have in New Zealand. Same with Australia. But for you, as a big part of what was a message 4 years ago, how did it feel when you turned on the news and you could see a crowd of thousands walking up Queen Street in Auckland, New Zealand, going, man, yeah, let's get them behind us?
Yeah, I mean, the international support is really cool to see, really interesting, and a lot of international athletes as well, which I think is pretty special. Yeah, I mean, I think it's awesome. It's very uniting, and it's incredible to me that for instance, taking a knee was seen as by many as such a divisive thing, when in reality, it's one of the most uniting symbols now across the country, or across the world, I should say, which is really cool. But yeah, the droves of people, no matter if that's in Philadelphia, I saw some aerial shots of a march going on in Philadelphia, or other parts of the world, is pretty. Yeah, it's pretty astounding. For me, it was always about getting people to listen to him that normally wouldn't, because I might be one of those people initially. You know what I mean? Because of my feelings of patriotism, or whatever you want to call it. So that's what I was always trying to do. And so what I've been really proud of, at least in America, is a lot of people that still do maybe disagree with his method, or even a lot of the things that he's saying, rallying around, all right, I see what he's trying to do, and this is a good thing. I can support that, regardless of the man behind it, and maybe the certain types of messaging, whatever. I want my country to do better. I want my police to do better. I want the accountability to do better. And I want our country to grow out of this. Like, how can I be a part of that, instead of just nitpicking and stereotyping and tearing everything apart like we so often do? It's such a divisive time right now.
Totally. I feel like, Nate, that you it's probably hard for you to accept, but yes, you may not have been the first man to take a knee, but you were the man who took the time to reflect on what the discussion was and to get past, and you had the CV to prove it. You'd served in the military. You were the person who sat there and you were frustrated by it, but you went that step further and you took that time to reflect, and then you looked at what he was talking about. So I feel like you're playing down your partners, because I know in New Zealand, especially, the headlines were, Colin Kaepernick is sitting out and he's protesting, and then all of a sudden he was taking a knee on the advice of someone who had served in the military, and I was like fascinated by that person. I wonder who's done that. It's got to be someone who's, and it was you. And I thought straight away, I was like, man, that takes a lot, because I know I've been pissed off in life, and I've disagreed with people's argument, but it takes a really sort of well to put together person to sit there and go, okay, what is it? Put away my anger or my frustration, and work out what it is that they're trying to tell me, and then go that extra step. So good for you, man. I applaud what you've done in all of this as well. Yeah.
I'm trying, man. And I make missteps all the time. I say stupid stuff. I was on ESPN this morning, and somebody said something. I made a dumb joke that offended some people, and it was like totally just thoughtless, because I'm like,
you're human.
I'm human, and I have this military mindset, and I just say things, and it was great. I mean, afterwards, I ended up talking with one of the guys on the show, who's a buddy of mine, and he was like, because I could tell he definitely had a reaction, like his face was like, "Whoa, did he just say that?" And but 99% of people knew, like, okay, that was the dumb joke. You shouldn't have said that. Whatever. But then there's some people that just, man, they'll just rail you, and I mean, we all do that. It's like we all make mistakes, and we're all entitled and allowed to do that, as long as we react in a positive way, and as long as we understand, all right, how can I grow from this? I mean, I screwed up. We've all screwed up. Like, what can I do next to fix it? I'm not just gonna like harp on it or try to defend it,
Yeah.
sitting in the past. Like, that's not going to help anything.
You want to be on the right side of history. That's all I know. I'm 39 now, man. Like, I want to make sure that things
I'm
are
the
different to where we grew up and what happened with us. That doesn't wash now. Like, bullying to me was like, man, that's just part of life. You got to, you got to get through the bullies to then succeed. But now
Right.
bullying in schools, that's not accepted. And there's so much more that's different and changed. So I think the more people our age, especially, and the older generation sit back and actually observe what is right and what is wrong, rather than trying to teach what is right and what is wrong, I feel like we'll get a lot closer to getting to a place where everyone's sort of equal. For you,
Right.
this is a tough one. You've already done some pretty hard yards by setting an example, but have you ever thought of what happens now after the marching finishes, when the people stop marching and the Black Lives Matters movement sort of is something that is lived through the online and through people's minds? Where do we go to next, do you think?
It's really got to be about action and follow through, as far as, from a criminal justice reform place. I think that's one of the big steps. And then trying to, I don't know how you do this, but also trying to get to a place where, all right, we're at this moment now where there's I feel a lot of obligatory apologies or obligatory, I stand with Black Lives Matter and blah, blah, blah. And I don't know if a lot of people actually believe it. It's just the cool thing to do in this moment, right?
Yeah.
But then there's this whole eggshell thing where it's like, you've got to be extremely careful about whatever you say if you're a white person and blah, blah, blah. And like, I don't want that to exist either. And I think most people of color don't want that to exist either. They don't want to live in this society where everybody is just hypersensitive about every little thing.
Mm.
So like, okay, so how do we navigate that, together? And it's going to be more and more like face-to-face interactions, getting away from the Twitters and the Instagrams and all that stuff, which is going to be tough because I'm just as guilty as anybody, man. I'm hooked. And, we only get to see a quick, it's 5, 10, 15 seconds of something, and we completely, react and make a judgment about it. And then we just go bonkers. And it gets shared so quickly. Like, social media has become the mainstream media, and we don't really have conversations anymore and interact like we should. So how are we going to, like I said, I don't have the answer, but like, that's going to be the next thing I think to really grow is like, definitely got to fix the criminal justice system. No doubt. Like I don't like the term defund the police that's getting thrown around right now. I think a better word is reform, or un-FUCK. I don't know if you can curse on your station. Stuff like that. There's stuff that's absolutely a mess that we need to fix.
Yeah.
So like that's probably got to be first, because people's literal lives are at risk. But then like, next after that, it's like, all right, how do we untangle how dangerously confusing our lack of communication is with one another, with people with different ideas, and not just color, take color out of it, just different ideas, like,
Yeah.
With this two-party system, that's another thing. Like for me, I'm just like, we got to get they can't have all the power. We can still have the Democratic and Republican Party, but the fact that they both have all the power, it's creating this binary society where it's like, you're either this or that, or blue or red, are you for or against? And it's like, dude, I agree with some of those things and some of them I don't, and that's okay. But that's like a radical idea these days, to be in the middle.
Yeah.
And
you don't really get many votes if you're in the middle, because you've either got these or that. So it's kind of gets to a dangerous place. But we live in a country, mate, where our national rugby team is called the All Blacks. Our national football team is called the All Whites. Like those names to us, we've grown up with. But I'm with you. I don't want to live in a world where you have to change all that thing. Did you know about our All Blacks?
Yeah, of course. You guys are legendary.
Yeah,
everybody knows about that. No, everybody knows about the All Blacks. I didn't know the All Whites. I've never heard that. I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's only to do with the color of the strip.
The All Blacks are legendary.
Yeah, no.
Well, I figured it was just skin. No.
No.
Bad joke.
See, there you go again. You're going to get yourself in trouble, Nate. You're an important member in history. You can't be doing that. No, hey, mate, it's a tribute to you and the quality of man that you are, because I'm a shit kicker down in New Zealand doing a vlogcast with a few people, and to take the time. I know that you're horrendously busy. To take the time to talk with me, I truly appreciate it.
I appreciate that, brother. Thanks for having me on, Mark.